everyone, Strix here. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be showing some Kanto Starter Gigantamax battles that occurred last weekend. This was during Fuecoco Community Day. Hope you guys were able to find some good shinies during that comm day. Unfortunately, my comm day started off with my auto catcher eating a hundo, so PSA, don't use your auto catcher unless you're okay with good stuff running away from you once in a while. But it's okay. We were able to make up for it by being able to battle and catch some of these awesome G-Max Pokemon. First is the big dragon himself, G-Max Charizard. That is a very epic looking dragon. The animations they made for these look fantastic. They remind me so much of the kaiju you see in the Godzilla monsterverse. All three of the Kanto Starter G-Max Pokemon are some of the best you can catch of their type right now. The best part is that you can use them to counter each other once you've caught a few of them. Though you can also use them to counter many other D-Max or G-Max Pokemon. I know I personally used Blastoise and Venusaur to tank some of the other G-Max and D-Max Pokemon that we had in previous months. Very nice to see that they had them come back to give folks a chance to catch them again. Personally, I was hunting for a shiny, as the shiny forms of these look amazing. Though the real downside of these, apart from the ginormous price tag of 800 max particles, is that you need a fairly large group of people to take them down. When we first got to our local park, we tried this Charizard with about 14 people, and we did not get even close to taking it out. Once you get to around 20 people or so, so long as the majority of folks are using proper counters, it becomes way more doable. For this raid, Blastoise was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, though the top G-Max counter for G-Max Charizard is G-Max Kingler with Bubble and G-Max Foam Burst, followed by G-Max Blastoise with Rollout and G-Max Cannonade, though mine was using Water Gun as its fast move. The third top counter being G-Max Toxtricity with Spark and G-Max Stun Shock. I did a bit of an experiment with this raid, using Kingler and Toxtricity to take some of the charge moves to test out their tankiness. I found in the end that my Blastoise was more effective at tanking this Charizard's charge moves, however. In future raids, it might be better to use the Blastoise to tank and then swap to the other two when it comes time to G-Max. That is something that comes in handy for any newer players out there. You can use a tanky Gigantamax Pokemon, or D-Max Pokemon for that matter, to absorb the charge moves while the max bar is charging up. Once it is fully charged, you can then swap to a more DPS heavy Pokemon to Gigantamax or D-Max. The key is to do this with proper timing, otherwise you'll get stuck with the tank Pokemon G-Maxing or D-Maxing instead. We were fortunate to have around 30 people to do this one, so it was definitely a smoother process than the first attempt at this raid. And so there it is. We used our comically large Pokeball to catch the ginormous Charizard. Unfortunately, the IVs weren't very good, but no matter, we can use that one for a lucky mirror trade in the future. Now moving on to the next raid, this one was the big leafy guy himself, Gigantamax Venusaur. Venusaur is one of the S-tier Pokemon that has been released in G-Max raids, so very worthwhile to catch if you're able to get a group together for it whenever it comes around. At this point in time during the comm day, we were fortunate to be able to raid with the same group of around 30 people or so, as these raids can be quite challenging in smaller groups. Though rumor has it that they may in fact be introducing some remote raiding at some point to these max battles, that will be an interesting addition. Very helpful, I'm sure, for any folks out there who do not have large groups around them, or for anyone who does have a group, but as often happens, just do not happen to have enough players at that point in time to take them out. For example, as I mentioned at the start, we had tried the Charizard that we just did with 14 people initially, and we got to about 10% life before everyone ran out of Pokemon. Being able to invite just a few more people to that raid could have made all the difference in that instance. We will see as more information becomes available about this, though I do imagine they would be imposing some sort of cap just like they do with the normal remote raids. The top counters for G-Max Venusaur are of course G-Max Charizard with Wing Attack as the fast move and G-Max Wildfire as the charge move, though at number 4 we also have the D-Max Charizard with Fire Spin and Blast Burn. You can't go wrong with either Charizard really. Then there's also D-Max Moltres with Fire Spin and Sky Attack at number 2, and Gigantamax Gengar with Lick and G-Max Terror at number 3. Unfortunately, this one was also a 2-star, just another one for the lucky mirror trade pile, I guess. And finally, for the last of the Titans, we have Gamera! I mean, sorry, wrong universe. Gigantamax Blastoise. Yeah, that one. So, As the leader of the Ninja Turtles, Gigantamax Leonardo likes to fight crimes involving big, fiery dragons and frog-like creatures with flowers on their back. Yeah, that's exactly right. Along with his brothers Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, and their sensei Master Raticate, he tries his best to fight evildoers. Though their plans are often countered by the likes of Gigantamax Venusaur wielding Vine Whip and G-Max Vine Lash, Gigantamax Troxtricity with Spark and G-Max Stun Shock, and D-Max Rillaboom with Razor Leaf and Grass Knot. Will this be the end of our mighty Ninja Turtle hero? Stay tuned and find out, my friends. All jokes aside, G-Max Blastoise is a great tank as it has a fairly high defense stat. As seen earlier, he was a valuable part of the lineup when fighting against Gigantamax Charizard. Hope you guys were able to pick up a good one, as this is definitely a must-have for your collection. We only had about 24 or so trainers to do this one, as people were getting their fill of Fuecoco shinies and deciding to pack up for the day. Though it did lead to some interesting moments, unfortunately I was unable to capture much more of the battle footage for the day, but we did have a couple of raids where we actually pulled it off with a group of 14 people. The trick was primarily to use a lot of max mushrooms. I mean, a ton of max mushrooms. We were, at one point, I believe, counting every additional max mushroom that we were getting from the group. And I think in one of the battles, we ended up with like 11 max mushrooms. We were counting them out to make sure that everyone stayed in the lobby and didn't just give up, because that was kind of a common theme throughout the day. If the lobbies didn't have enough people, people would just leave before the counter expired. We were literally counting every additional max mushrooms, like 9 max mushrooms, 10 max mushrooms, 11 max mushrooms! So your mileage may vary depending on the counters used in your group, but that was the secret to having smaller groups, is just Super Marioing your way through the DPS check with a lot of max mushrooms. I wanted to take some time at the end of this video to talk about PokemonGO's big announcement. They announced this a few days ago. They are moving to a new home with Scopely. Scopely is another mobile games company. They are primarily known for their games Monopoly Go and Marvel's Strike Force, amongst others. The big worry is that they're going to change the game or even monetize it to the extent that they've monetized a lot of their other games. Though they have stated that the team that made Pokemon Go will be staying with the game and moving as well to their new home with Scopely. While it is very easy to get caught up in the negative sentiments of changing companies and the things that we know happen when mergers and acquisitions or buyouts happen, I think it's best to wait and see what the company is going to do with the game. It could honestly go either way. They could maybe just maintain the game or maybe even make some improvements. Hopefully what doesn't happen is what people are fearing, which is they monetize the game into oblivion and drive away a large portion of the community. Though I believe there is a small chance that that would happen, because Scopely does have a vested interest in keeping as many members of the community engaged in their game, as that is what would eventually provide them long-term growth and strong returns on their investment. That being said, the fact that the Niantic team that made the game is staying on board is also a good thing. This is very likely a passion project for a lot of them, and they would probably hate to see their game destroyed. So hopefully Scopely is willing to listen to the team and also to members of the community that are very passionate about this game and about its continued growth and success. Ultimately, I think it's important to remember to pay attention to the actions that are taken or the changes that are made. At the end of the day, the power rests in the players of the game. If you don't like something, then you can always just move on to another game. There's plenty of them out there, tons of games in our gaming universe, luckily enough. Though I do hope that Pokemon Go has a strong and successful future, as I, like many others, have made many fond memories, many friends throughout my Pokemon Go journey throughout the years. That being said, may our journeys continue together, my friends. Thank you for tuning in. May the Shundos and Hundos be with you all.